Hello, welcome to Region Weather Live, your YouTube source for weather across the Dakotas and Minnesota. I'm meteorologist Brad Werner with just a quick little update regarding some of the model trends of how this storm is panning out. Just giving a quick little look as to what's kind of shifted or moved a little bit in regards to the storm. But first, we've got to talk about a high wind warning for parts of our area. Here we've got a high wind warning across all of North Dakota and then far northwestern parts of Minnesota, and then a high wind watch across northern parts of South Dakota. And this is out of the National Weather Service, and so they're looking at west-northwest winds turning more northerly and increasing 40 to gusts of 65 miles per hour at times. So high winds may damage roofs, small outbuildings, and signs. Tree branches may be broken. Travel will be difficult, especially for high-profile vehicles. So this is around 4 p.m. Central Time, Central Daylight Time now. And here we could see that shift from the westerly winds to the northerly winds, and the cold air sinking in behind this cold front. Now, as that cold front sags south and east, we're going to allow some of those very strong and gusty winds in behind it. There you are. There's kind of where the bulk of the higher winds are expected, at least, mainly across western and central parts of North Dakota, northwestern parts of South Dakota, perhaps kind of nosing into far southeastern parts of North Dakota as well. This is right around 7 p.m. going into Monday evening, and then this is closer to midnight. So that high wind warning does include areas up and through here where we've got the potential at least of seeing 50, 55 miles per hour, maybe some 60 mile per hour, but I think that more of the problematic areas are going to be within probably this region. That's kind of the maybe more so the main concern as this frontal boundary moves on through late in the day on Monday. Now, along with that will be some snow showers, mainly across north central and northeastern parts of North Dakota, far northwestern parts of Minnesota. So there's that potential of seeing some reduced visibilities in some of these areas with the gustier winds, and perhaps some limited travel or some hazardous travel as we get late into the day on Monday and into Monday evening. Not an overly troublesome storm, but perhaps if you get a little band in there that's a little more intense and you get that wind pushing behind it, yeah, some of those visibilities, at least for a brief little minute or so, could reduce down to a quarter mile or so. Just keep that in mind if you're traveling here on Monday. All right, now regarding that bigger storm coming later in the week, if you haven't watched it already, I already put out a video on Saturday. I've got a link below in the description. There's also a link right above here. I'll provide that as well. Make sure you take a look at that so you kind of get the base, that foundation of what we're expecting possibly with this big system coming in Friday, Saturday, and on into Sunday as well. But the one thing I kind of like to do at this point is see what has shifted, what has changed, what are the models trending to, what kind of clues should I be picking up on. And one of them I've kind of seen here a little bit is on some of these models is that they're trending to get a little more similar to the European model, in that instead of having this elongated snow area from southwest to northeast, they're starting to trend a little more closer to the European and going a little more north and south by the time it's done. There you can see now the snow's a little more north and south, and even a little more concentrated, not quite such a wide area. So it's kind of narrowing it down, maybe making it a little more north-south, perhaps even shifting it just a little bit east, at least the main branch of it. So that's one thing I've been kind of picking up on here, is how some of these models have been tending that way. Now, I guess the other thing I've noticed is probably an uptick in the freezing rain potential. You'll notice here early on when we're looking at kind of the purple and pinks, the models didn't really start off with a whole lot. Now, as we kind of go through time here and we get a little bit closer, notice how, you take a look at these lows as we get through the different model runs, and they're bopping all over the place, right? They're kind of all over. So you have to take some of the wobbles and the shifts with a little bit of grain of salt, and look at more so the overall bigger picture when you're seeing these. But kind of focusing back on that freezing rain as we get closer now here, there we start to see an uptick in that pink, and some of those purple areas fade away a little bit, but more so the pink. So Perhaps there's maybe a little bit less real cold air to allow some of that widespread snow to take place, but enough in there that perhaps it's going to be more of a freezing rain event for a wider swath of an area across our region. So you take one away and you put something, potentially even worse back in its place. And finally, one other thing I've kind of noted here, and especially when it pulls out of the Rockies, is that the low pressure isn't quite as intense. And we're looking at this number. We're looking just how deep that low gets. And there for a while, man, I mean, it's still going to be a pretty impressive number, but they were saying as low as 969, and that is pretty low. That's one of the lowest. That would be one of the lowest low pressure systems to come out of there in quite a number of years. But as we kind of continue on and we get closer here, and all of a sudden that number begins to creep up a little bit. So perhaps it's not going to be quite as powerful as it was previously thinking a couple of days ago, but nevertheless, I mean, let's be real, guys, this is still going to be a pretty potent storm. Oh, and one other thing I've kind of noticed here in some of the winds going into early Saturday morning, unfortunately, as we got closer here, the winds are picking up as we get closer to the event as well. So that's kind of another trend I'm starting to see a little bit, is that maybe the winds are actually going to be a little bit stronger than previously forecasted, especially up across eastern parts of the Dakotas and western Minnesota. So we'll see if some of those trends continue and how they affect the overall forecast. But for now, here's how I have adjusted the best blizzard potential area. I actually narrowed it down a little bit compared to what it was on Saturday, kind of a smaller area. Still kind of focusing in a little more on the Red River Valley area, far northwestern parts of North Dakota. Right now, I think that still remains the best chance for seeing the blizzard conditions between the stronger winds and the potential for getting some of the heavier snowfall. And that secondary area in yellow kind of spreads down a little more into Sioux Falls, and then still pulls back into Jamestown or so past Devil's Lake. But I guess I brought this just a little bit further south and probably widened the eastern edge just a little bit compared to what I had previously. I guess one other area I kind of wanted to point out here, if some of this takes place. Some of the models are painting, at least early on, so this is more so going through, we'll say, late morning Friday into the afternoon on Friday, is perhaps some heavier snowfalls across western parts of South Dakota. Now, this is a little more of a bullish model lately. It's the GFS, it's the American model. It's the one I maybe don't quite trust or trust the least at the moment, but they are painting a fair amount of snow across western South Dakota. But I guess the thing that has me concerned is that if they do get any snow, they're actually looking at a fair amount of wind across western parts of South Dakota going into the later part of Friday. So I mean, we're looking at 55, 60, maybe even 65 mile per hour wind gusts. So if they do get any type of snow, even if it's a light snow out there, that could reduce the visibilities and create some hazardous travel out there. So I guess something to keep an eye on, just because, boy, those winds are going to be blasting out there. So yeah, the snow, even a little bit of snow probably is going to cause at least some problems. And so I've added this area in blue, just kind of mention, at least for now, the possibility of reduced visibilities, maybe some hazardous travel in there. Not my main area for blizzard at the moment. Perhaps that'll change, but just something to think about as we go through mainly Friday, as I said. Now, while I reduced down at least the red area, the blizzard area, I kind of expanded, unfortunately, the freezing rain and sleet area and kind of brought it a little bit further south, all the way down to Mankato and Fairmont and Blue Earth. And maybe some of this could touch the Twin Cities as well. And obviously that wouldn't be a good thing at all, as if they got any kind of freezing rain across the metro. So yeah, we could be trading off a wider snow event and trading that in for perhaps more of a freezing rain event. We'll see how some of this pans out. I mentioned in the other video the possibility for thunderstorms, perhaps some severe thunderstorms. And I guess one other thing to go along with that, or to talk about when we're talking about all this freezing rain potential, is that if we do get some thunderstorms, or we do get an area that kind of rains a little bit longer, the latent heat given off by some of the rainfall could hold off the freezing rain, or the temperatures getting below freezing to where obviously the rain then freezes. So if that does happen, I mean, perhaps it could prolong some of these areas from getting that freezing rain moving in. Maybe even stopping it entirely for some areas across the far north. We'll see how that all pans out as we get closer. But keep that in mind. That does play a little bit of a role. If we do have some heavier rainfall, and some thunderstorms could potentially hold off maybe that freezing rain just a little bit. And finally, one other concern I've got as we kind of get into late Friday night into Saturday is you look at how some of the moisture, some of the thunderstorms get pulled up. It gets pulled way out to the east and then gets wrapped in. And behind that, a lot of times, as this storm wraps up in such a manner, and those storms continue to move to the north and east, we get a good punch of dry air that pushes that line along. So, is that going to dry up some of these areas across southeastern parts of Minnesota? I know we're in some kind of drought all over the place. There's a lot of places that need moisture, any kind of moisture, and I'm sure a rain especially would be very, very welcome. So will that dry air play a factor as it pushes that line north and east? That's always something that these models struggle with, and that's always something that makes me nervous when we talk about these types of big storms, is how is that dry air punch going to affect things? So yeah, unfortunately, still a lot of variables to be worked out. But we'll continue to track it, so make sure you follow along. And if you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button down below and the bell button that pops up alongside it. That way you'll be notified when I've uploaded a video just like this. It's free, folks. It doesn't cost you anything to hit that button. You know what else is free? Hit the thumbs up button down below. That way it helps my channel get noticed across the YouTube algorithm. Let's get the word out there, folks. Even share it. Go and share it with people. I know a lot of people talk about this channel, and then I talk to them individually, and I watched your video. Great. Did you share it with anybody? Because I'm sure there's other people looking for this type of information as well. Not to mention, hey, I wouldn't mind it either. I put in some of this work. Let's get some more views on these suckers. How about? All right, everybody. For Region Weather Live, I am meteorologist Brad Warner. We'll probably see you tomorrow night with another update.